Hello, and welcome to another episode here at Inspired and Ignited. Here we are all about taking your gifts, talents, and life experiences to create increase and success. So I am super excited because today we have Heather of Byrd's World, who I absolutely love. Hey, Heather.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It is my pleasure. And I am excited for what you have to share with our community today. I'm just going to start off asking you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Of course. So, hey, everyone. My name is Heather Byrd, and I am an award-winning author and writer, and I am the owner of Byrd's World, which exists to inspire and transform lives through creativity. So what we do is we help women to tell their stories so they can get out of their heads onto the page and really into creative action. So whether that's birthing your book, a blog, if you have a speech that's been burning inside of you, or maybe a theater show, all of those things can come together. So I absolutely love doing this work. I've been doing this work for a little bit over 15 years and have found myself in that creative bridge building world. So I'm super excited just to talk to you and just learn more.
Yes, I love it. Well, I'm excited to learn from you. So, Heather, I always like to hear, start off just telling me, like, what are you passionate about?
Oof. Allowing other people to discover that they have a story. That, like, literally just asking me that question, it creates chills throughout my body. If you've ever asked anyone, like, tell me your story, or what is your story, or what's something that's special about you, usually their first response is, oh, there's nothing special about me, or I don't have a story. And when I hear that, that genuinely breaks my heart, because we all move through this world with different experiences. And sometimes it's not until we hear someone else's experience that we realize that our experience isn't the only one and we're not alone. So it's really about bringing someone's voice into light. It's about bringing their story into the light. And I just get excited when people have that aha moment where they're like, oh, I did go through this, or I do have a story, and this story could help someone else. When that moment happens, it's absolutely everything.
Yes, I am sure. And as you know, I'm super excited. I've announced it some here that I am working or finishing a book. And guys, let me tell you, I only bring the people that I would really work with. And Heather is the one that I'm so excited to do my call with and help take me through this journey. And so even as you can hear it, as I'm listening to you, I can hear the passion in your voice. As you talk
Yes.
about, inspiring people to share their story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, why do you think it's important for people to actually pause and tell their story?
There's two parts to that. It's the pause piece. We don't take time to pause and reflect on where we've come from and how that has built us into built us to the person we are today, right? And so that piece is just really important. And there's this celebratory nature that we bypass. We don't take time to celebrate what we've overcome, or just celebrate the accomplishments that we've had. We're just a go culture. And so taking that time to pause is so important. I would also say that the need to tell your story, for me, I'll speak for myself, really stemmed from a moment I had with a student while I was doing one of my award-winning shows, Her Story of History. And I went to this school that was fairly diverse, and within its diversity, there was still only a handful of Black students that were there. And so I got up on stage with my partner in rhyme, and we do this entire show. And this student is sitting in the front row, and her eyes are wide, and she is soaking it all up. And it wasn't until after the show that she waited for everyone to leave, and you could see the bottom of her mouth kind of quiver and her eyes start to water. And that's when I realized this was the first time she had ever seen a person who looked like her on stage telling her story.
Yes.
And so it's sometimes it's not until you hear it that you realize, oh, this is what I've been going through too. It's again, it goes back to the I am not alone piece. And so anytime I'm thinking about my why, she's one of the first people that come to my mind, because I was also her sitting in those seats and watching people come across stages and tell stories that I didn't necessarily have language for, but I knew just didn't feel right.
Right.
Or if someone's discounting the journey that you're going through, knowing that someone else is going through it too just really, really helps. So
Yes.
there's so much that comes from telling your story and just releasing it into the world. It's a beautiful journey.
Absolutely. No, I definitely agree. And part of the story that I have, especially in realizing there's so many other people, like you said, that are going through what you've gone through. And sometimes just
Yes.
having someone else that shares, like, hey, this is what I went through. This is how I felt. These were, moments that were
Mm,
hard. And this is how I overcame,
mm,
specifically for
mhm,
my story, having lost a child and going through the grief process,
mm,
understanding that, like, hey, grief just doesn't end, but you can overcome components of it, and how to even find a way to celebrate, right, what you did have. And so,
mm.
like you said, just being able to impact others is what I've seen to be the benefit of sharing your story and really helping someone else. Um,
Absolutely, absolutely. And there's that, if you could just real quick, there's a piece of that too, where there's this opportunity to tell stories that most people don't talk about.
mhm.
Talking about your story, people don't readily talk about things like that. And so sometimes there's that shame that sits within us. And so to be in a place to know that someone else has gone through it is just, it could be
Yeah.
life changing. So
Absolutely.
yes.
Yes, definitely. And when we talk about writing a story, and I'm sure you would express, the moments of candidacy also sometimes can bring about like healing and recognition for yourself. And like you said,
Yes.
even just to celebrate like the wins and the challenges that you did overcome.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, my heart, my heart.
So, Heather, I always, as I love your brand, I love the leaping into your wings. Tell
Thank
me,
you.
where did you leap, and your wings, basically, like, where did they appear from?
I have spent my entire life leaping.
Mm,
Like I realized that where when I was going to college, I went to a college that none of my friends were going to, but I knew that that program was right for me. And it was the only college I applied to. And everyone was like, don't you want to back up? And I'm like, no, no, this is what I want. This is what I'm going for. Right.
yes.
Also, while I was at the college, I built a community of poets together. And as I was going into that process, somebody was like, oh, someone's done that already. You're not going to succeed. And I was like, haha, watch me.
Right.
And so that was a leap of just like believing in myself. Um, I would say my most recent leap revolves around me being able to really jump into this entrepreneurship journey. Um, and believing in what I have to offer is something that the world needs and something that the world wants to be able to do, but just doesn't, they don't have the tools. And so leaping into that journey has been something that has been most recent for me. I actually just signed up, actually more recent than that. I actually just signed up for an intensive 12-month mentorship program. And
Awesome.
it took it felt so good to do. And I knew that it was right, but I had to bet on myself. I had to believe that if I was standing at the end of any branch, I would be able to jump and my wings would appear because I have the tools and I have the belief in myself. And really, that's all that's necessary to like move forward in your dreams. So there's so many moments in my life. But the most recent one is actually this past weekend.
Right. Like, I hear
Yeah.
you, and it's funny because when we take those moments of leaps, I keep getting back to this whole celebrating them, right? So I just want to say kudos
Yes.
to you, because often I think we just go through this journey and we don't stop and like actually celebrate that, hey, I did this, even just jumping into it. Like, that's a serious act of
Mhm.
like, hey, faith, I'm trusting in this, I'm believing in myself, I'm gonna do it, right?
Yes.
So kudos to you. Like,
Yes. Thank you so much.
and
It's really all about not letting fear stop you from moving
yes.
forward. Yes.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna stop for a moment because I see something happening over here and I think I know what's happening. If you could just, yes, yes, thank you.
So we'll back up real quick. So this is my new line. Hopefully you can see the whole thing, but this is my new line,
Yes.
and it's called Leap and Your Wings Will Appear. And it's really about that inspiration to dream and transform your dreams into action and doing whatever it is that is keeping you in that fear space. Like, how can you just leap and trust yourself and move forward? And so I built this line called Leap and Your Wings Will Appear. And when I tell you, when I first got the mock-ups of it and I opened up the box and I saw how detailed and the texture of the t-shirt, like I started bawling. I was in my car holding the merch, because it's not only about the leap that I'm taking, it's about the leap that others will take to tell their stories and to be in action. And actually, you were a part of this process too. Like, this is kind of serendipitous that we are talking about this right now, because the reason this exists is because working with you and your team, you were able to take a vision that I had, and move it into something that is tangible and it's in my hands, and it's now inspiring so many other people to move forward in their business, to move forward in telling their stories. And that's not a small feat. So I just want to thank you so much for your contribution to having this come alive. Like, it's everything.
Absolutely, absolutely. You don't even know. This actually speaks to me so much, and I'm like, I am not going to cry on the show today.
It's okay, we'll cry together. You won't be alone, I promise.
Yes. So, often we do the work around here. We are going through, the day to day, and we do the work and we follow the request that comes in from our clients. But even as you were speaking, like, the shirt just brought in even just a whole new meaning to me. And I am so happy. It's such a privilege of mine that our team got to play a part. But as a mother to a young Black teen girl, like, I was just thinking in my mind, like, I'm going to get her that shirt, because I'm constantly talking to her about, like, I'm like, I said I wasn't going to cry. Just talking to her about believing in yourself and taking that leap. And sometimes you may take that leap and you may feel like this didn't work out, but you did it and you learned from it and you move to the next one. And so we will definitely have the links below to purchase merch. I definitely am getting it. I have a few teen girls that we mentor around here, and it just literally just hit me like, they need this. They need this reminder. And so, yes.
It's so much bigger. It's so much bigger than I could have even imagined. And the more I'm talking to people, the more I'm realizing the need for that motivation to move forward, and to have that reminder. Like, there are days when I wake up and I don't want to continue on with my business, or I'm like, I'm tired, or it's that book I have to read, or that email I have to send, whatever it is. And I look in my closet and I'm like, oh, this is the shirt I need today, literally, to keep going. Because we look at ourselves multiple times throughout the day, and we usually are checking out what we have on, right? And so what does it look like to see that in the mirror, to remind yourself to keep moving forward, to keep pushing, to keep putting one foot in front of the other? I also have a notebook that also says Leap and Your Wings Will Appear. And that has become my manifestation dream journal, where all the things that I want to happen in the future goes in that journal, because that helps me to, like, push that forward. So I thank you so much for sharing. That's all the parts.
Yes. And I want to tell you guys, Inspire and Ignite It family, listen, when you go get that merch, post a picture. We want to see, like, that merch on you, because I know that if it's going to inspire me, I can only imagine what it's going to do to Heather. So take a picture, post a picture, get your merch, and just remember why the Leap Your Wings is there. Yes. So, man, it looks like our time is already running through. So, Heather, I just want to ask you, before we go, what are your big plans happening for 2022?
I'm excited for all of the growth and possibilities that are within 2022. But what I'm really excited about is my goal for the next 8 years, actually, is to have 1,000 new storytellers tell their story. And what that means in terms of that breakdown. If I did the math right, because I'm a poet, not a mathematician, so if this math doesn't come out right, don't judge me. But really, it's about working with around 100 to 125 writers a year to help them tell their stories and put it out into the world. And one of the ways in which I'm doing that is through my course, Learn to Fly. And within that course, we really work through the creative mindset. We work through the tools, and we work through you actually writing your story and being in action and putting it out into the world, right? And so we're doing that multiple times throughout the year. And there's also several different opportunities for people to work with me, either through accountability or through one-on-one coaching. But my goal by 2030 is to have worked with 1,000 storytellers, whether new or you have a new storyteller or you have a new story to tell and you've been in the publishing world before. I want to help birth your book. I want to help get that clutter that's around in your head, right? And whatever story you have buried in your bones, have it out into the world. And so I'm just super excited to name that and put that out into the space and really help women to tell their stories.
Yes, absolutely. And it's interesting because someone asked me, like, how did you determine what you're writing your book about? And I was just truthful with them. Like, I looked at the areas that were life-changing for me. And unfortunately, some of those areas were painful areas, but the ability to overcome them changed my life and changed how I see the world and how I see people. And that's what made me know, like, these are the stories to be told. And so I just encourage our listeners, like, even for you that are like, what story do I have? Trust me, if you are breathing today, I'm sure you have a story. Contact Heather, because like she just said, she will work with you through that, because you definitely, if you are here today, you have a story to tell. So yes, thank you so much, Heather. I always enjoy our time together. I'm so glad and happy and appreciate having you on. Please let us know when your first Learn to Fly course, or when we can enroll. We will definitely have links below. But if people want to get in contact with you right now, like, what can they do?
Yes, so you can always visit my website, which is byrdsworld.com. So that's BYRDSWORLD.com. Or you could follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Blue Birds World, and that's BLUBYRDSWORLD. Feel free to send me a DM, reach out to me, comment in a post. Let's have conversation about your own creative goals and how I can help you advance those.
Yes. Well, Heather, thank you so much again for joining us at Inspired and Ignited. All right, listeners, thank you for tuning in for another episode. I know you guys got some serious value here from Heather, so make sure you connect, and we will see you next time.
Bye.